نافت زوصل كيدنا تزوصل انتاي بلاك لبس ماتر زبليمو أبزي حج انتاي تبحافشاتي من قصعاتنا عبينا إذا تقولي ويكاني مس من تاي تأساسيرنا أنا نخيد زبل زيادة موري زبلنا مستينا سلمت خنتاي متأثر على وطناتنا نابنت نحنا أبسدت علينا نساتهم كأني إذا سلمتي بأمريكا قال إنزلوا كما يتو ولدنا متأثر نابنت تناتنا زوجات مزولو نايت من سي وينايت ولدنا زوجات مزولو شكرات انتاي يمثل يردعنا لو دي بلكت سلازي توم بلاك ليفلز ماتر زبل من قصاصات كما ينيرو مسناتنا تأثر يخلو بزبل في بحافتنا طاربلنا ناب أصلا لقيتنا راح يعني ماذا إذا مثلا ناب في
Thank you شيشاي حواي يا قوي كير الله حجي التاناتي بيس بإنجليش ياخد كون تن كلن حقتات نسب كقربلو أنا حخو أكلت إفكامو تأجله they still apply أباي مالتي بستخدم متن قلت أفندابلكو نتي كستيك قلت أختني مالتي okay, I'll start with introducing myself. I have already introduced myself earlier, but people may have joined later. So I am Feven. I live in America in the state of Colorado, and my piece is going to be on Black Lives Matter, mainly focusing on Eritrean diaspora and its participation or lack of participation in the Black Lives Matter. First of all, I like to express deeply felt gratitude for giving me this topic during the Black History Month. And I like to use this opportunity to honor all the men and women who dedicated their lives to the pursuit of justice and equality for all. Before delving a little bit deeper into Black Lives Matter, I want to touch upon the history of Black people in America. I'll try to read a small summary that I have already written. Oops, I should start from here, sorry. Yes, at PowerPoint. And I use these colors on purpose because it's Black History Month and I use the Kente colors. So before talking about Black Lives Matter or our participation in it, it's good to touch upon the history of Black people in America. African American history in the United States is long and complex, spanning over 400 years. In this brief overview, we'll explore some of the key moments and figures in American history, Black American history. The first enslaved African Americans arrived in North America in 1619, and slavery became a central part of the American economy and society. As you can see, I have tried to outline the key historical moments in Black American history. So I will be talking about them and I will move them. I will click through the slides as I talk about them. Enslaved Africans were forced to work in agriculture, mining, and other industries, and they were subjected to brutal treatment. Despite the hardships they faced, enslaved Africans resisted in very many ways, including through work slowdowns, sabotage, and escape. In the 19th century, the abolitionist movement grew in strength, and the Civil War was fought over the issue of slavery. The Union victory in the war led to the end of slavery, but Black Americans continued to face discrimination and segregation through Jim Crow laws of the late 19th century. However, the 20th century saw a renewed struggle for civil rights led by organizations such as National Association for Advancement of Colored People and Southern Christian Leadership Conference, etc. The struggle culminated in the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and Voting Rights Act of 1965, which outlawed segregation and discrimination. As you can see, Martin Luther King didn't get to see the passing of those laws. He was shot and dead before that. Despite the progress that has been made, Black Americans continue to face challenges today. They're more likely to live in poverty, to be unemployed, and to be incarcerated than white Americans. They're also more likely to be victims of police brutality. Black American history is strong struggle and it's a story. Sorry, Black American history is a story of struggle and resilience. Despite the many challenges they face, Black Americans have made significant contributions in American society in all fields, including art, music, literature, and science, and politics. Does this look familiar? This is where it started, and this is where we are right now, from slavery to presidency, but the struggle is still real and it keeps going. Now, I decided to mention about Black history because talking about Black Lives Matter without speaking about the Black American history is kind of like, it does not give enough context to why people are fighting and why Black Lives Matter as a movement came about. Black Lives Matter is a social movement that advocates for rights, dignity, and equality of Black people, aiming to address systemic racism and violence perpetrated against them. It emerged in response to ongoing racial and injustices and police brutality faced by Black communities in the United States and around the world. As you can see here, this is Trayvon Martin. He was shot and killed in 2012. He was 17-year-old, unarmed Black teenager when he was shot, and the person that shot him was acquitted. That's what gave rise to popular uproar and the movement in general. I'm proud to say that the movement, the hashtag Black Lives Matter, was started by Black female activists, and it became viral in 2013. And the movement was at its height in 2020 after the killing of George Floyd by a police officer in Minneapolis. At its core, the Black Lives Matter seeks to raise awareness. Well, first of all, I want to say, I'm sure I wasn't in the United States in the 2013, whatever time when people were protesting the killing of Trayvon Martin, George Brown, and so many other Black folks that died in the hands of police. But I was there in 2020. I mean, I came before 2020, but I was there to participate in the protests during the global pandemic where an armed Black man died. As you can see, the officer Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd by putting his knee on his neck for 9 minutes while George Floyd cried, saying, "I can't breathe," for 9 whole minutes. This is very horrific. During one of the protests that I joined, we were laying on the ground with, of course, nobody had their knees on our necks, but shouting, "I can't breathe," for 9 minutes is very depressing, and it speaks volumes about the person putting their knees on the other person's neck, causing the death. So the movement emphasizes the need for societal transformation, demanding accountability, accountability for systemic racism within law enforcement agencies, the criminal justice system, and other sectors. Now, before we go to the tactics they involve to get what they want, we have to know few little things. Black Lives Matter is decentralized movement. There is no one organization that claims to be, there is no hierarchy. There are more than 50 organizations under Black Lives Matter. And it's also transactional. There are like issues of refugees, gay rights, and so many other things. It's like a big umbrella that has a bunch of movements under it. So here's the tactics and strategies they used. BLM employs various tactics, including peaceful protests, civil disobedience, community organizing, digital activism to amplify voices of more marginalized communities and effect meaningful change. BLM has sparked conversations about racial inequality, police reform, social justice, and on global scale. It mobilized various groups of people to advocate for racial justice and has inspired solidarity movements across different races, ethnicities, and backgrounds. While facing criticism and backlash, Black Lives Matter continues to push for racial equity, inclusivity, and recognition of inherent values and humanity of the Black lives in society. So Black Lives uses it makes maximum use of the social media. Between 2013 and 2018, the hashtag Black Lives Matter was tweeted more than 30 million times, which is about 17,000 times a day. They also use, like I said, direct action like demonstrations, peaceful protests, and also sometimes this can get out of hand. The Black Lives Matter movement has also used media, arts, songs, documentaries, and everything to amplify the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, what did they achieve? Like Black Lives Matter has been, it's been more than 10 years since the establishment of Black Lives Matter. And it's at its height was, of course, there was ongoing work of advocacy and public seminars and everything starting from 2018 to 2020. But at its height in 2020, that's when Black Lives Matter did most of the reforms that we are seeing in America. So they have managed to increase awareness. People learned how racist they are or how whatever you do affects other people. They were also successful in bringing about policy change at local level, at state level. They also pushed for policies that increased accountability in policing and corporate and institutional responses. Also, large corporations started responding to the Black Lives Matter. Many companies, including the company I was working for at that time, introduced a department called Diversity, Inclusion, and Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And they try to address the racial issues within large organizations in that way. Public opinion, people learned how racism is woven into the fabric of the United States, even like acquiring wealth, buying a house, everything was racist decision because and this awareness changed many things on how decisions were made. There were also many more achievements, like it had impact on President Donald Trump's presidency because Black people were empowered to vote, and many people that were angry about the racial things that were going on at that time voted against Donald Trump. Community empowerment, symbolic changes, international solidarity, education initiatives. So many things changed during 2020. Because Black Lives Matter is a grassroots movement. It empowered all communities to get up and address issues that are unique to them and start working together and everything. There were also like statues of all these slave owning slave owners or military generals in the fight against slavery that were Southern generals. We had statues of them everywhere, and the movement brought attention to those and how they can how they were harming the Black community in terms of like re-traumatizing them, and many of these were removed. And also one of the things that's really still people debate about it, but I feel that it's really a big success, was uh, uh, the educational initiatives. Like Black Lives Matter has influenced what gets taught about Black history in schools, one of which is like the critical race theory, which is, well, people still debate about it, but it was a big leap for Black people. So I was just trying to give a background on Black Lives Matter, what it is and when it started and why is it important and what happened to Black people in America. Not just America, of course, I keep saying America, America, because I live in America, but it's Black people everywhere, pretty much, outside of Africa. So I tried to think like, I haven't seen, like during the protests that I was participating, I did not see any Eritrean Americans, especially the older generation, participating in any of the Black Lives Matter movement activities. And that makes me wonder why. I think I have tried to outline like 5 reasons. One is the lack of awareness about our Blackness. Our people do not think that they are Black. We think we are Habesha, and Habesha is exclusive from Black. So this is one of the reasons people do not think the Black cause is their cause. They don't think that everything affecting Black people is affecting them as people residing in diaspora. And the second thing is people do not have enough understanding about the cultural and also historical dynamics of race in America. They don't know that you're defined by race instead of ethnicity. So this lack of understanding is also one of the reasons that our people are not participating in Black Lives Matter or other like social justice movements in respective countries, of course, not just America. And the other thing is the apprehension about facing societal stigma. So when immigrants arrive to the United States or any other country, they quickly find out that being Black is bad. Like you are labeled so many bad things if you are Black. So our people decide, nope, I don't want this baggage. I don't want to identify as Black. I'm going to reject this identity. I will not associate to that stigma. So for that reason, they distance themselves from Black people and Black communities and the issues that are unique to them. Another one is we only focus on the issues that are unique only to Eritrea. Like we're busy dealing with dictatorship back home, the policies made back home, all the human rights abuses and inequality and everything back in Eritrea. We do not think that the issues here are our issues. Another thing is fear of assimilation. This is a two-sided problem. First, we want to assimilate and have the culture, earn better, get education and everything. But at the same time, we're also scared of assimilating too much to the point where we lose our culture. So people are like keeping their distance so that they don't uh, lose themselves in the larger Black community. So does this have repercussions like not being part of social movements in places where you live? We most of us that we live in the Western world, if we don't participate in whatever is going on, how is it affecting us? The first thing I want to underline is there is this issue of hypocrisy. Yeah. People say they're fighting for their people. I see this being repeated over and over again in our communities. But are they fighting for their children? Their very own children, the children that they gave birth are living here and they're living the experiences of Black people. So this is causing generational divide because people who come from Eritrea, first generation immigrants, they don't consider the Black issues to be their issues. And their children who are born here think they're Black. They believe they're Black. Everything that happens to Black people happens to them. And they acknowledge that this is a problem to them. And the fact that their parents do not acknowledge their problems or try to help them navigate it is causing a big generational rift. And another one is cultural and identity clashes. There is a difference in culture between Black Americans and our Black Eritrean diaspora. And the fact that the cultures are different, instead of coming with your rich culture and interacting and sharing your culture without losing it, people feel intimidated by the difference in culture and refuse to um, to um, to work with people who are different in terms of culture and everything, whereas their children in school and everywhere they go are labeled Black and they associate with Black people. They consider the culture of the Black people to be their culture. So there is a clash there between the parents and their children. And another thing is, they're all connected, of course. It's perception of solidarity. So the parents not standing with their children's issues, with the causes that their kids are fighting for, is also making things more frustrating for the children that are born here and with their parents. Another one is impact on cultural identity. US-born children who identify as Black may feel a sense of disconnection or frustration when their parents or older family members do not actively support or engage with movements addressing racial injustice, impacting their sense of cultural identity and belonging. So this all is like the whole issue of Eritrean immigrants not being active in BLM or other social justice movements is causing a real problem it's causing a generational gap and resentment of their children towards their parents, because the children feel that their parents are ignoring them and just involving themselves only in the issues that are affecting people only in Eritrea. When I was looking for this, I had a bunch of I was reading a bunch of posts on Reddit that young Eritreans posted about their parents. Most of them were frustrated. And it's so interesting. This girl, I saw so many angry posts and people seem to hate their parents or the older generation for not understanding what they're going through. But I like this blog and I thought to share it with you guys. I'm going to read it to you. She says her name is Awad Haptom, and this is what she posted back in 2017. And she says, I'm African, a first-generation Eritrean immigrant, but my parents tell me I'm not Black. My parents moved to the US from Eritrea 2 years before I was born. Even though I have the same dark skin as my Black peers, my parents bristle when I call myself Black. No, they say, you're Eritrean. They argue that unlike many of my Black friends, I have the privilege of knowing exactly where I came from. My home life is steeped with Eritrean culture, the holidays, language, and culinary practices. My mom doesn't understand why I would take on a baggage and a negative stereotype that come along with being Black in America, especially in this. Okay, yeah, I'm almost done. Especially in this political environment with endless news and stories about protests and police brutality. But as I am growing older, I'm embracing my Blackness. To me, it's part of accepting my reality. My skin has melanin. I am from Africa. I'm literally African American. When I walk down the street, people don't see my cultural history. They see my Blackness. And rather than deny that, I'm carving out a place for myself as a proud Black woman. So there is also this research that I just took a snippet of about the Habesha community in Seattle, how they don't identify as Blacks and all. So as we saw, that blog summarizes everything I was saying, how there is a rift between parents and children because of the lack of the indifference of parents to the issues that of their children in the Western world. So why do we need to participate in BLM and other social justice? First, we have shared goals because those BLM and other social justice movements address the issue of immigrants and refugees. Secondly, there is solidarity issue. If, we all know that there is strength in numbers. And also another one is bridge building to other advocacy movements. There are so many advocacy organizations that we can benefit from, and Black Lives Matter can be a bridge to those. And another one is to make political pressure. If we want to make political pressure, we have to come as part of a bigger group than being a small isolated group that nobody cares about. And also to make strategic alliances. It's really important to not be isolated. Having allies is really important in making any movement successful. So are there ways that we can make partnership with Black people? Yes. We can throw common events. We can educate our people about their Blackness and what it means to be Black, what their kids are going through in the Western world. We can create grounds and opportunities for dialogue, participation in Black Lives Matter movement activities, and cultural exchange, and so many things. And one thing we have to realize is nobody is really free until everyone is free. One thing I want also to underline as my summary is it's very important to be sensitive, and also handle this issue with humility and true commitment, not just to benefit from BLM, but also to help the BLM movement succeed. Thank you very much for your time. I tried my best to race through time and explain everything that I wanted to say. If I missed anything, maybe we can use this as an opportunity for future discussions and maybe time, whatever. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thanks في بحفتي على كل تدمعين أي حق دس زبل خلت حتتات إلى ما العلم على وتجزية تولي عسلا زلو أحس رابي لكم تن حتتاتكم نحر عميتكم في بقى أحس رابي لأن حري مليساتو نباخم في الساعة نباخا جمر حري خا ما دانش.
Thank you, Feven. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, I can.
Yeah. You see, the Black African Americans are with political, economic, and health disparity. The same Africa as a continent is excluded from the world. What can be done to make a good or a great alliance between Africa and the America? I think it is a great opportunity for many Black Africans being in the United States. So what can like you and the other students from Africa can do to relate, to make a good alliance between the United States and the Africa as a continent? Thank you.
أمال شو خلينا نكسر حساب.
Okay, مجمريات thank you وعروقالي. قصيلي حتى كزدلي إذا كله research خاب جبركس بارنت نديو إريترا بارنت كالو نديو حجت بارنت ناي أمريكان إريتران similarity لو مو أو قرب كتلاقبيو تخالكي ካልኣይቲ ሕቶ ከዓ ካብዚ ናይ ባርነት ናይ ኣይ ፀለምቲ ኣሜሪካ እንታይ ክንመሃር ንኽእል ነቲ ባርነት ንሃና ኣረኣኢና ካብኡ እንታይ ክንመሃር ንኽእል ኢልኪ ቁሩብ ተገለፅኪ ይቐኒየለይ
اوكي ابو خلاص تحزل خلي خلي غوس خاكي كعب انت اشم زلو
اوكي
اوكي تنسى يوكي زلخا دحريقها من هو بخري نابا خليتهم كسلي تنسى
هاي شمي مسفن أحفرهم بالك أو عاد إنجليزي yeah okay what I would like to ask is how do we strike the balance between avoiding victimhood and fighting for equality? That's my question.
እታ ቀዳመይቲ ሕቶ ናይ ፍስሓ ሓወይ ሕጂ እንታይ ክንገብር ንኽእል እንድዩ ትሕቶ I think እዚ ነታ መልስናትካ ኣበይ ረኽባ ምስለካ እቲ diaspora community ትናትና ማለት እዩ is a good connection between Africa and the Black Americans. We are fresh from Africa. We still have our roots. We know where we're from. We know our culture and everything. Hajiti diaspora community, see, instead of denying being Black and everything, we have to embrace our Blackness and connect these two communities. But you're right. Knowing your roots and everything is going to be really helpful for, I hope, بحثير مالي سياخون مستزلو كذي. أنت تاني بروفيسور ألقانش حطوتات كأن خلتين بارنت أب إرتران بارنت إن أب نايت ألمت مالتي تذكرهم كذي بتعب مثل حتصير إن maybe أب بارنت رأيت كيراني رتدخون ويا بقلة مور مقالات كوخين سمعني بارنت anywhere نقول بارنت يبقى period. Of course, Black Americans had like physical chains up to الغمان شيرجيريوني chain نيرو ما بكسادهم لك أخم سنسلة مالتي physical زخونة إيدو من أقرو من الصارو بمالتي نايبارنس ملك اتي ناتنا خاني أب حنقولنا هما عينة سنسلة هالو أب بحنقولنا ترى يكونن of course أوشت إيرترا زلو نحنا بزدق زلنا بحنقولنا تأثيرنا لنا توما وشت زلو خاني بحنقولو من بأكل تأثيرو مالو مالتي سلازي اتو oppression اتقول inequality inhumane treatment and everything بزح مساسلو اللو مالتي هجتي كابت كله انتاي كنمهار نخيل كابت قالسي ذبل The history of Americans أب أمريكا 400 عامات يمجرهم كاب 1619 slaves لهم مسموتو مالتي. You've seen the strike like it's a slave missenselotu and you see Obama. That's his root. That's how he came to the United States. I mean, not necessarily Obama himself, but that's how Black came to America. ስለዚህ for 400 years ተስፋ ቆረፁ grassroots movement እናገበሩ ካብቲ slave ከለዉ ከማንሲ በቃ ብምንታይ ክትቃለስ ትኽእል ሰንሰለት ኣሲሩ ክገለሰብ ከሎ ልክዕ ስራሕ ብምድንጓይ ወይ ብምህዳም ወይ ገለ ይቃለሱ እዮም ነይሮም for 400 years እንዳተቃለሱ ፊሑ እንዳበሉ ሓንሳብ ኣብዚ reconstruction era ዝበሃል ጥቡቕ ምዕባለ ምፅኦም ነይሮም ብቁጠባ ገለ ብቲ መጀመርያ ካብ slavery ምስ ወፁ ማለት እዩ ግን setback ኣጋጢሞም ናብ ካልእ ናብ በዓል jim crow ድበሃል ናይ segregation ገለ ኣትዮም ማለት እዩ ስለዚ ተስፋ ከይቆረፅካ ኩሉ ግዜ everyday ምቅላስ ካልኣይ ከዓን ኣብ grassroot movement ምግባር ማለት እዩ ኣብ ታሕቲ በቃ ኩሉ ሰብ ምስቲ ጥቕኡ ዘሎ እንዳኾነ ነተን ከባቢ እንዳተቆፃፀረ ማለት እዩ ካብኡ ሕጂ እዚ ክንመሃር ንኽእል ማለት እዩ ታሓንቲ መስፍን ሓወይ ዝሓተተኒ እንታይ ኣትብል how do we strike the balance between avoiding victimhood and fighting for equality? Of course, we're victims, but we will always fight to be equal. First of all, if you believe to be equal, the feeling of victimhood, if you really believe that you are really equal, I think you will not feel like a victim. You will be angry, of course, that you're being treated unequally, but I think the work starts from within, because oppressions and all these bad things destroy your mind and make you feel unequal first. So if we really work on ourselves and tell ourselves that we are truly equal, we can get out of the victim mentality. So we can get out of victim mentality and fight to show that we're not really unequal. We're born equal and meant to be equal. I hope I answered your questions. I tried to race because I know how important it is to save time. Thank you.
ብጣዕሚ ደስ ዝብል ቶም ሕቶታት ሓተትኩም ይዓንየልና